Hello there, my name is Adam McQuiston, and I want to do a quick video on how to use Kafka Connect Datagen locally with Docker, as well as the Confluent Schema Registry. So, about a month ago, I wrote this blog post on my blog, The Coding Interface, demonstrating or talking through how I can accomplish this exact task. And so what I want to do is I just want to make a corresponding YouTube video to walk through the contents of the blog and kind of show it in action. So the basic steps in order to run the Kafka Connect Datagen Connector are listed here. So very first thing we want to do is first thing we need to do is we need to spin up one of the Confluent Docker Compose YAML files to run the Confluent platform locally. And then we want to install the plugin as a service, define the schema, submit the schema as a JSON payload, and then we can simply process the data as it's being created. So if you're not familiar with the Confluent Kafka Datagen connector, it's just a quick and easy way to generate random data of a specific format within a Kafka cluster for experimenting with consumer clients, like regular Kafka consumer, maybe KSQLDB, KStreams application, something along those lines, which is really helpful when we just want to do a quick and dirty experiment to play with an API or something. So down here, if we go to the section on running Confluent Platform Community Edition with Docker, so Confluent nicely provides various different Docker Compose YAML files describing or as a template to run all their services locally with Docker. So if I go and do a query, something like GitHub Confluent all-in-one, then I should come to a GitHub repository that looks like this. And there are various different examples of these Docker Compose files. And I want to grab the one that's all-in-one community. And then there's the Docker Compose file. So let me go to the raw version and I can just grab the URL right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to download this with the HTTP Py client, which is like a curl alternative for a shell-based HTTP client. And so let me make a directory called Confluent Kafka Datagen, and I'll change directory into Confluent Kafka Datagen. And then I'll go ahead and download this thing. So if I use my HTTP client, so for download, and I paste in the URL that I just copied, then it'll download it for me here. And I can open up this thing in I don't really need to open up in a code editor, but I can use something like Vim. And we can see here that it spins up a Zookeeper image, a Kafka broker or Kafka cluster, individual server instance, a schema registry, the Kafka Connect image, KSQLDB server, a CLI for KSQLDB, and then the KSQL Datagen and Confluent REST proxy. So pretty much the whole setup there, right? So let me exit out of this thing, and we'll go ahead and run a Docker Compose up and in the background as a daemon. And so this will go ahead and look locally for all the necessary Docker images. If not, it will download them from Docker Hub, from within the Confluent organization in Docker Hub. And this should just take a few minutes because I actually have everything already locally. And then I can be off and running. And so I already have actually downloaded or installed locally the Confluent tools. So there is Confluent Platform tools, which just provide a handful of the regular old Kafka CLI tools. So things like Kafka topics CLI. And if I do bootstrap server of local host 9092 list, then I see the standard Kafka topics that come with Confluent Platform. And if you're, just in case you're not sure where that came from, that actually came from my Docker Compose file here. So if I look at my broker instance for the Kafka image of Confluent, it specifies here that it's exposing port 9092. And so that's how I'm talking to this, because everything's running locally here in Docker for me now. And so I also have the JQ JSON querying CLI tool also installed, so I can parse various HTTP responses that come back as JSON. So if I look back at the Docker Compose file, we see for Kafka Connect, it's exposed on port 8083. And so that means I can use its REST API to query it, as well as launch new connectors to that instance of Kafka Connect. So I can again use my HTTP PI client for HTTP, localhost, 8083 is the port that's exposed, and then connector plugins, that comes pre-installed with it. Here's all the plugins. So the one that we're most interested in is the Datagen Connector, and then you can see there's also some file-based plugins and some mirroring ones. And so this little bit right here just actually queries it down to just the class. So if I do that with JQ and then specify all the elements in an array, and I want just the class field within that array, then that's how I get output. That looks like that, limited to just the classes. All right, so I can also query the running connectors. So this one that I just showed shows all the plugins that are available on it that I don't have to install, and this this endpoint shows all the ones that are currently running. And as you can see, I have an empty array coming back, so that means none are running. All right, so there are a handful of pre-canned examples that come along with the Datagen, and one of which is an order schema representing various different orders, maybe an e-commerce system or something like that. So there's also one for like stocks and page views. Go ahead and check out the Confluent documentation on what are available, but they represent just a quick way to get up and going with with one of the pre-canned templates that the Datagen comes with. So let me create what I just copied there on the left, which is a specification for the Datagen connector, or a configuration for the Datagen connector, and I'll call it orders config.json, and I'll just copy that in there, and we'll talk through what this means. So this means it's going to launch an instance called Datagen orders with the Datagen class. I'm going to tell it to write to a topic called orders_JSON. I'm using the orders Quickstart, and then for the key, I want it to come in as string. So the key, I don't quite remember what the key is. I think it might be an order number or something like that. I want it to be string serialized, And then the value, I want it to be JSON serialized. And we're not going to use the schema registry for this particular example. And then I want it to generate data every 1 second, so 1,000 milliseconds, and up to 1,000 orders, and we're only going to run one task. So I now have my orders config file here. And so I can use my HTTP client once again to post that JSON config up to, or locally here, to my Kafka Connect instance running on port 8083 and to the connector's resource endpoint. And I'll just use the name of the file here with an @, and this HTTP client knows actually to just read it off the file system there and include it as the body of my post. So let's kick that off. Message not found. What did I forget, or what did I miss here? So HTTP post, connectors. Okay, so this says, all right, I went off and I posted the connector config for the orders Quickstart, and it's now should be running. So if I do HTTP localhost 8083 connectors, and if I throw a -b in there, then I only get the body. And we see I now have one connector running, and it's my Datagen orders connector. And I can do the same type of thing to figure out the status of it by doing connectors / name of the connector, which is the Datagen orders, and then status. And again, I'll do a -b because I only want to see the body. And you can see its state is running. And then so I can actually use the Confluent Kafka Docker image itself to run a consumer against, or I can use my downloaded tools that I went to a little bit earlier ago. I think I'll actually just use the Docker version. So Docker executable, or execute interactively against my broker image, Kafka console consumer, the bootstrap server is localhost 9092, so that's my Kafka cluster, my Kafka broker. And then let's do the topic was orders JSON, and then I want to print the message key. So let's do print key equals true. And we'll also throw a from beginning on there. Well, yeah, let's throw a from beginning on there. There shouldn't be too much data quite yet. Uh-oh, looks like I missed something. What did I miss? I didn't spell bootstrap server right. That's my problem. Boost wrap. It's not gonna give me what I want. So if I fix my typo here, bring this back up to the top, and there's a whole mess of data already since we launched it. So you can see it's coming through, and I've got an order time field, an order ID, item ID as like a line item, order units. I don't know how you get fractional order units. That's kind of an interesting little thing there to see. And then the address of, I guess, either the person that made the order, or maybe the shop or something where it was sold at. So that's using one of the quick starts that the Kafka Connect Datagen connector comes pre-installed with or pre-packaged with. I think is what I'll do, since this video is running a little bit long now, is I will stop and then come back in the next video and show how you can make your own custom schema rather than using one of the pre-packaged Quickstarts. So I hope you enjoyed this very simple introductory example of using one of the Quickstart packaged examples. And if you've got the time, join me in the next one where I cover how to do a custom schema and a custom formatted random data generator with the Datagen Connector. Thank you.